Hello everyone, welcome back to the podcast, and today I'd like to talk about a very philosophical subject, but it's one that I personally often apply to my life and to decisions I'm making, and it's a way to very much simplify a decision. It's a way to break it down to a more simple choice, and sometimes it's a way to make a choice entirely, because in a way every decision we make is a kind of dialogue within ourselves, a kind of philosophical argument where we've got alternatives and we're trying to weigh up which alternative is better. So this technique can be used in your own personal life, and it can be used in philosophy, and it often is used in philosophy, and I'll be talking about some of the areas that it becomes used in. In fact, I've already talked about one area, and I'll mention that in a minute. So this idea is called logical space, and logical space is to do with the logical possibilities involved in a particular situation. So the classic example, I don't really like using classic examples, but I'll quickly mention it for reference purposes, is it's either raining or it's not raining in London right now. Now, that seems to cover the whole logical space of possibilities. It is either raining, and drizzle counts as rain in this case, so does snow, or it's not. Yeah, what other possibility are there? Or maybe London doesn't even exist, in which case it's also not raining in London. For all I know, London doesn't exist right now. I can't see it, I'm not aware of it directly. You may be, you may not be. Again, what other possibility is there? If it exists or if it doesn't exist, it's either raining there or it's not. It's either precipitating there or it's not. So another example, logical space, where there's two possibilities, only two, is choosing to go on holiday. Now, will we stay at home in the UK or will we go abroad? If we stay in the UK, we won't be going abroad. If we go abroad, we won't be staying in the UK. So the logical space is completely covered. There's no way to do both. I mean, you could do both in a holiday, but then you are going abroad. Yeah. If you don't do both, you're not going abroad and you're staying in the UK. You cannot go abroad and stay in the UK. You cannot be planning to go abroad and only stay in the UK. The logical space is covered. Now, of course, what could happen in reality is you don't have a holiday at all. Yeah. Maybe something comes up. You can't even have a holiday. But if you have a holiday, there are these two possibilities only. That's the logical space. Maybe you can argue with that. I'd be interested to hear if you think there's any other space within that logical space. And I've already dealt with one particular argument that uses logical space incorrectly. And that's the famous mind argument. And I think it was Ayer who came up with this argument, Ayer, and it's called the mind argument because it was published in a magazine called Mind. And I suppose it's in a way to do with the mind because it's related to my video on free will. And I mentioned this fallacious argument where two possibilities are put forward and both possibilities appear to exclude free will. The first possibility is determinism, and the second possibility is indeterminism. And this indeterminism is basically said to be the same as randomness, and therefore if we're either completely predetermined in our decisions, or completely random, then in both cases free will is ruled out. And of course that's true, but indeterminism is not randomness. It can be probability. So something can be 99.99999% certain and still be indeterminate. And something can be 0.001% predictable, or almost unpredictable, and yet be indeterminate. And everything in between, so it can be 50-50, 67-40, 67. You know, it can be 0.0003% determinable or indeterminable. So these are all probabilities, and obviously something that's 99.999% predictable is almost determined, but it isn't. It's indeterminate. And that's actually the case with a lot of things in this universe. So that's a false dichotomy, where the logical space seems to be filled, indeterminism or determinism. There's only two possibilities. Indeterminism is the same as randomness. No. But so we can rule out free will. So it is a dangerous technique, because you have to be really sure that you've covered all the logical space, and you've really said what the logical possibilities are, and well defined them. And of course in that case it is not well defined. Now you can have more than two possibilities in logical space. So there's probability and determinism, that's two. But you could have many more. In fact, you could have hundreds of possible explanations for something. But as long as we can eliminate all but one, and we cannot eliminate that one, we can conclude that one is the truth. Not that we can say for sure it's 100% nobody will find a way to eliminate that one, or nobody will find new possibilities to add to the logical space. But as a working argument, and we can put that forward and say, look, tell me why this isn't the truth, because I've eliminated all the other possibilities in the logical space. And one particular argument that jumps to mind, which I really like, and I think demonstrates logical space and the power of using logical space arguments so well, is an argument related to what's called in philosophy the problem of induction. And you can look this up. There's loads of information about this. It's a very hot topic in philosophy, and very interesting topic. And it was put forward originally in this form by David Hume, who's a very popular philosopher, not known very well by the general public, but in philosophy he's one of the top guys. He's obviously dead a long time ago, but David Hume, often misused in my opinion, often misquoted even, as all these great people are, used as a totem to back up someone's argument and twisted to fit into that very often. But he is a great thinker in my opinion. He was a great thinker, and a great writer. And I can recommend reading his essays on human understanding. superb essays on natural religion, superb, very readable, written in a dialogue form. So powerful. And he identified this problem of induction in that we can't really predict from previous instances future instances. We don't really have a rational basis for that. We do it all the time. We'll predict that the sun's going to rise tomorrow because it's risen every day for the last 4 billion years on the Earth. But actually, if you look into it, you'll see that that's actually not a rational position. There's no real rational basis for that, is what he was pointing out. And I would recommend you look into this if you're interested. I don't have the time to go into the full detail. But the argument I'm talking about is basically the practical sort of answer to this problem, to try to justify our use of induction, to try to justify our use of looking at past events and predicting the future from them. And this was introduced to me by one of my professors, Peter Lipton, who's unfortunately now dead. Was a lovely guy, brilliant lecturer, and a great philosopher as well. And he said he came up partly with the help of in collaboration with another philosopher who I forget now, came up with this argument, the practical sort of answer to this problem. And basically he said, well, it's very clever. They said there's only 4 possibilities as regards induction. Either we are right to use induction and it does predict and it works, or we'd be better off using, say, reading tea leaves to predict the future, or neither of these things will work to predict the future. So looking at the past won't help us, and reading tea leaves won't help us. So as long as we can eliminate reading tea leaves as a better way of predicting the future, then induction is always going to be preferable. And therefore we have somewhat of a rational justification for using induction. Because in a way, if anything will work, induction will work. So that's kind of the argument in a nutshell. It goes into more detail. I'd say if you're interested, look at it. But you can see the use of logical space here. Either this is true, or this is true, or this is true. We can eliminate this and this. Therefore, we're justified to believe this. So, I recommend you to look at how logical space can be useful in your own life. If you're trying to make a decision, look at all the possibilities, see if you can eliminate some. Literally write it down on a bit of paper. I can eliminate that, I can eliminate that. And then maybe you're just left with 2 to decide from instead of 10 possibilities. So you've shrunk that logical space and you made your decision a lot simpler. And often you can eliminate every other possibility that you can come up with, and you're just left with one. So in a way, it's not even a decision anymore. You can just say, well, this is what I need to do. So that's logical space. I hope you've been interested in this, and hope to see you again. Bye for now.